comb your hair, go and wash your face. It's been a real long time since you've seen the light of day. So let thoughts come as they may, beauty and parade. Everybody all smiles when you're back in the seat again. On aboard the Petty Express to a beautiful darkness. It's full steam ahead to ride the rails to our next destination. Yeah!
Hey guys, it's Mo from Mo in the Deep End, and we are jumping into a new case. I saw this preliminary hearing on Friday as we were covering the Megan Boswell case, and this is a case that is tragic. You know, someone lost a life. That's always tragic, but it's not a kid case, and I really didn't want to do another child case, so I figured we would dig into this. I do have several articles. They might go over the same thing, because I didn't know a lot about this case, and Jedi Jess, our, Jedi of the legal papers, said that, South Carolina is a state that doesn't really release a lot to the public, so we don't have kind of those documents to go through. So I figured we would learn about the case together and see if it is a trial that we want to, tour on the Petty Express. As your conductress of Snark, I welcome you aboard. Everyone's in the VIP section. So let's get into this. Housemates helped husband hide body of his wife after he manually strangled her to death in their home, police say. And this is unfortunately the victim. Police in South Carolina say a woman's husband murdered her in their home and that two housemates helped him hide her body. Jessica Barnes was reported missing by her mother on September 10th, a statement from Pendleton Police Department said on Wednesday. She told the police that her daughter hadn't been seen since August the 1st, local CBS affiliate WSAP said. Now, state law enforcement was called to help with the investigation, which ultimately led to the discovery of human remains in Twin Lakes, about 5 miles away from Pendleton. Those remains were confirmed through dental records to be those of Jessica Barnes on Tuesday. By Wednesday, Barnes's husband, Brandon Barnes, and two roommates, Kendall, Mims, and Victoria Tippett, were arrested and charged with Jessica Barnes' murder. Now, according to an arrest affidavit, Brandon Barnes killed Jessica Barnes on August 2nd using his arms to strangle her to death. And welcome, Alice, and welcome, lurkers. Hopefully I am helping you get through your day, as we are somewhat snowed in here. Well, I mean, it's snowing. I mean, it's just a constant drizzle of snow, if I could label it anything. Now, the defendant did admit to the murder after being advised of Miranda, the affidavit does say. Tippett is accused of witnessing the murder and helping Brandon Barnes get rid of his wife's body. According to a probable cause affidavit, Tippett failed to tell law enforcement about the murder, and she did, quote, admit to disposing of the victim's body to obstruct justice of the murder by defendant Brandon Barnes. The defendant did admit to law enforcement to the incident after being advised of Miranda. Mims did render assistance to Brandon Barnes to avoid consequences of his crime, the affidavit said. By helping Brandon Barnes dispose of Jessica Barnes' body, she too admitted this to investigators, according to the affidavit. A separate affidavit says that in addition to helping Brandon Barnes get rid of Jessica Barnes' body, Mims did have multiple opportunities to report the murder to law enforcement and failed to do so. Brandon Barnes is charged with murder, while Tippett and Mims are charged with accessory after the fact, obstruction of justice, and neglecting to report a crime. Now, they were scheduled to appear in court on Wednesday, so I do believe that's the hearing that we're watching now. Now, there is a People article that goes through, and they might have a little bit more of the juicy bits, not so much the legal part. So I did want to get a couple of sources to try to give you a more rounded view. This one's probably going to be more salacious and more newsy sort of reporting, but to get a different flavor. And welcome, 80s Music Man. I am glad you're here. It is snowing, and I'm about done with snow, y'all. We could have had it on Christmas, had like a couple of days, but now that I have to go places in snow, this is a no-go. Husband accused of strangling Jessica Barnes had secret child and sexual relationships with couple's roommates, police say. Oh, well, hot damn. This is all about the Petty Express. We got baby daddy drama. We got, well, if he's having an affair, would we have a, I'm guessing a love quadrangle? Y'all aren't even Fleetwood Mac. You're not making good music. Do not have a love quadrangle, Brandon. What is wrong with you? A South Carolina man is accused of murdering his wife as he was allegedly having sexual relationships with one of the pair's roommates while raising a secret child that he fathered with the other. What in the Jerry Springer is this? Like, holy people of Walmart. I mean, look, I generally don't say this, but this is like Blanco trash behavior, if you understand my drift. This is some shenanigans that even Jerry Springer would not touch. Holy fazolies. So he's boffing one roommate and had a love child with the other. Schmolies. Okay, the slain wife, Jessica Barnes, 20, disappeared in August from her Pendleton, South Carolina home, according to Pendleton Police Department. Now, remains found during the investigation were confirmed by a Pickens County coroner, excuse me, on October 1st to be those of Jessica, per the police. Following the recovery of her body, Jessica's husband, Brandon Barnes, was arrested along with the couple's two roommates, both of whom allegedly had sexual relationships with Brandon. Now, Pendleton Police Chief Robert Crosby told People. Kendall Mims and Victoria Tippett, the side chicks, I'm just going to call them the side chicken nuggets, both lived in a pool house with the couple. They were charged with accessory after the fact, obstruction of justice, and misprison of a felony, according to police. As the investigation unfolds, details and the extent of Brandon's alleged deceptions are coming to light. Jessica and Brandon began the relationship 18 months ago, and during that time, Brandon was still having a relationship with Kendall because he had a baby with her 6 months ago. Pendleton Police Chief Robert Crosby tells People. Brandon had allegedly told Jessica that Kendall was his sister and their child was his niece. What in the actual fuckery is going on here? Holy fazolies. Like, what in the Bob Ross are we doing here? I feel like I need to paint a happy little tree because we got a whole hot mess dumpster fire here. He told his new girlfriend, like, no, I swear, this isn't my side chicken nugget with ranch dressing, this is my sister and that baby is my niece. So when your wife walked into you boffing your sister, is that when this whole neck hug, death happened? Because I am trying to put pieces together and holy S-balls, you guys. What is this trial? What is this case? We are watching this with popcorn and bells, and we are getting justice for Jessica because that is absolutely flippin' ridiculous. My ovaries are in revolt. This is some BS, and Brandon, you're going down. I don't like cheaters. No. No pumpkin eaters here. Nope. Brandon, you're gonna have to go somewhere. We're going to have to figure out where you're going based on what we learn in this trial. But it's not looking good for you, allegedly, in Minecraft. The Petty Express, their justice is swift and, well, righteous. Soon after moving in with Brandon, Jessica learned about Brandon's relationship with Mims, per both Crosby and Stiles. So not only was he having a relationship with Kendall, but he was also having a relationship with other people. Now, Brandon and Mims had filed for a marriage license in late 2023, Crosby tells People. However, in January of this year, he married Jessica. And this beautiful young lady lost her life because some douchey McDouche face couldn't keep his little wiggler in his pants. And when you see a picture of this guy, you are going to wonder how his bait and tackle got 3 women, let alone 1. I mean, I don't know if it's like glittery or he used, deer musk. I don't know. But when you see a picture or when you see this guy, you're going to be like, I have questions. I, I, I do not understand the equation of this relationship because this girl was stunning, beautiful, and seemed really sweet. Now, I've never met her, so maybe she, had, you know, Walmart anxiety or something bad, but who knows? She's not here to defend herself. The deceased wife had allegedly struck up a friendship with their newest roommate, Tippett, based on their shared experiences of having lost a child, Stiles said. Jessica and Brandon had a stillbirth on Easter Day. Easter Day? You mean Easter Sunday? People, Easter Day. What the hell? Can we just agree on the language we all agreed on? Like, making up new words is ridiculous. Of course, as I say, I make up new words all the time, but mine are, allowed. I am the conductress. While Tippett had lost her child in an accident several months prior, per Stiles, the 2 women bonded over their shared loss. However, things took a turn when Jessica reportedly found Brandon and Tippett having smex. Now, I am asking y'all, how did this man lure 3 women? 3. Not 1, not 2, but 3. With his, bits. It makes no sense. It just doesn't make no sense. It just doesn't add up. She was stunning, and I mean, I don't know that any of these people's family tree forks that much, if I'm honest. Looking at it, I would suspect and diagnose first cousin marriage. Any hoozle. So Jessica found Brandon and Tippett's having the smexy time, which prompted her to take off to her mother's house on July 31st. One day later, Jessica disappeared. On August 2nd, Brandon allegedly strangled Jessica to death, Pendleton police said in an arrest affidavit. Police further alleged that Tippett witnessed the killing per the arrest affidavit. Now, in the arrest affidavit for Brandon, police alleged that he admitted to the crime. Now, the women allegedly admitted to assisting Brandon in disposing of Jessica's body per their respective affidavits. Now, it is not clear if any of the suspects have entered pleas. Attorney information for the 3 suspects was not immediately available. And if you are experiencing DV, please call the domestic DV hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or go to thehotline.org. Just for, learning stuff. All right. So this is the preliminary hearing. This will be all 3 defendants. I do have closed captions on, and I am going to try to be like Baker and be all organized-ish and, write down when these hearings are happening because this is a case that is perfect for the Petty Express. But since this is a preliminary hearing, and that means that the trial may not be for like a bajillion and 12 years, if you have an old case or a recent case that you would like us to run on the Petty Express, let me know and we can set that up for either tomorrow or Friday. I am not sure. We might do cop body cam video Friday. We might could need a break this week, after the whole Megan Boswell thing. We might could need a break of just something funny. All right, here we go. And let's Okie dokie.
Hey, bro.
Ooh. Somebody stole Grandma's outdoor furniture for them chairs. Grandma is going to be mad when she realizes that they raided their back porch for those nice plastic chairs. You know, the $20 ones that, came in like a stack at Walmart. Now, obviously, they look like wood, but they do remind me of those plastic yard chairs. And good Lord, do they look uncomfortable. I don't like to lean back too much in my chair, so I always generally have a pillow. I don't know why I like to sit forward, but I do. It drives Mr. Mo mental because he's always like, would you take this pillow off of your chair? Because usually I have it like bungee corded or MacGyvered on there somehow. And he's like, would you take it off? I can't use your chair. And I was like, I don't want you using my chair, so mission accomplished. I'm just kidding. I usually say that, and then I do remove the pillow, but I usually do say that if I'm honest. What in the Kubrick stare is this? I don't know why the girl from Ring decided to get out of. I'm glad she got out of the television. And it looks like you're being productive and you've embraced colors, but the Kubrick stare is very off-putting. It's this particular stare. Now, again, it screams to our lizard brain that someone is doing something sneaky and or is not quite right. Wolfram comes and he leaves, but he is like Gandalf. He, arrives exactly on time and leaves exactly when he is supposed to.
It's gonna be our next. Judge, they're getting some stuff together, making sure everybody's good with doing them together, but they just need a few minutes, so you just want to do one or two more in the meantime. You're gonna do this whole house and clear out page one?
What in the Murphy Brown is this? I detect shoulder pads, near blinding bright color. Holy God, what in the heart with her hair? I mean, I can't tell if I am just in a time warp and I'm watching someone from the early 70s or late 70s, early 80s, or I really like this. Oh my God. Mr. Mo has poisoned me. He's making me watch Chernobyl, which, can I talk about this? Because they really need to have, like, I know that I'm watching it super duper late, and spoiler alert, the communism is bad for getting the truth. And, that kind of stuff. But we are going on a tangent rant, so here we go. Now, here is why Mr. Mo and I cannot watch movies together or shows together, because we're watching Chernobyl. And I do love history. I love to pay attention to that kind of stuff. And I know, a fair bit, not like expert level or anything to brag about, the Soviet Union, how communism works, that kind of thing. And the two main scientist characters who supposedly grew up in communist Russia, okay? Like super duper communist Russia, seem to yell a lot and want the truth a lot and talk about it out loud like the KGB just didn't exist or they were confused that the KGB existed. Also, the miners. Could I have been warned, although I loved Mr. Mo's absolute discomfort, but holy dodongle. What a brave step forward for a full frontal male nudity. Again, if I had been warned, but And I know it was Chernobyl, you guys, but I was laughing hysterically because Mr. Mo was so discomforted. I get the point. They were all, naked because it was super duper hot and they were all getting bombarded with radiation and it's not supposed to be funny. But there was just a whole lot of peens just a flopping just every which way. And Mr. Mo was so doggone uncomfortable. And I don't know, but I just love him more when he is squirming uncomfortably and I'm laughing hysterically. It's my love language. Anyway, a breakaway from the dongle talk. I was traumatized last night and I needed to tell you all. Because again, just a warning, like, hey, you are going to see a bunch of... Also, can we talk about the distinct UK accents that take you out of it? Okay. Any hoozle, I'm back. Let's go.
We could do the last one on the first page real quick. Okay. Holbrooks.
No.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. Yes, sir.
Jeremiah Johnson Holbrooks. Jeremiah Holbrooks.
Put one of this up by themselves either. But there's no way.
Okay. So this was more of their commentary. I kind of gave you a thing and I don't want to get copyright struck. So we'll start here.
I know. If you want to talk to Judge, can we approach her?
Oh my gosh, is it my birthday? Murphy Brown, Cokie Roberts, Connie Chung from the late 70s, early 80s is coming full force and it looks like she is an attorney. Oh my Bob Ross, we are here for this trial. I don't care if I have to stream at midnight. I should not be this excited about a trial, but it looks like a dumpster fire on top of a nuclear volcano. And that's just my, level of dumpster fire. I just love them. I don't know why, but you guys must love them too because we are all here for the ride. Oh my, what in the Madonna bad blonde hair dye? Oh, sweetheart, you done fried your hair. Oh, you're going to need to, look, I don't want to, but you're going to need to see a professional and not the one you went to get this done, okay? Because I don't know what in the hell she was biologing, but giblets. That is streaky like early aughts. Holy fizzolis. Well, sweetheart, just go brown. Or red. Have you tried red? Now, you wouldn't be able to wear that pink, but there you go. Oh, also, full warning, it is cold, it is yucky outside. Hagatha the leg was not a sweetheart last night, so I may be a bit more squirrely than normal. So, fair warning, public service announcement, I may be fidgety and just all over the place. I am working on about 3 hours of sleep, which oddly makes me more hyper, which means that Mr. Mo will have to give me a lot of caffeine to make me go to sleep tonight. Honestly, that was probably the first indicator that I had ADHD because caffeine puts me to sleep most of the time. Oh no, her voice. Oh no, no. Oh Lord, not only her hair dye, but the tone of her voice. I was getting ready to like this trial. And then she's like, or at least that's what I'm hearing. I'm sorry for your audio, pain. But that's exactly what I'm hearing in my ear. And she's not even mic'd up yet. This is gonna prepare thyselves. Thanks, Wolfram. Always there. And be safe on your ride back to town. Someone watched the Barbie movie.
Yeah. Oh, he's a officer. I don't know why he's an officer.
Okay, is it bad I give everyone nicknames to remind me who they are? So in my notebook, I wrote Elf Ears. Look, I'm a horrible person and I'm only aiming for purgatory. But, look, right now she's Elf Ears until I can remember her last name and put the Tippets and the, other one face to, name. So right now she's Elf Ears as defendant. Which is kind of mean, but she allegedly watched a woman die and did nothing to help her and nothing to help the family find her. So, Elf Ears it is.
Yes, it is.
Oh. I think that's the lawyer.
Yeah, well, she wrote it on,
Oh my God. Okay. I know who she reminds me of and how I'm going to do the thumbnails. My UK friends. The woman who inspired me, the woman I hope to be, Tracy Ullman. When she had the Tracy Ullman show, I swear to goodness she had a character that looked vaguely like this. So now I know why I am deeply turned off by her voice, but I am very like, oh my gosh, I know her. That's true. Or, Mom, can we get this Britney Spears? We have Britney Spears at home. Britney Spears at home. No offense, ma'am. I would be a Britney Spears at home too. So, I'm in the club too. I throw no stones. I sling no arrows. I would be Britney Spears at home too. Or Jessica Rabbit at home. Be safe and stay warm. We need our wolf room safe. Welcome, Squid Pro Quo Raiders. We are looking at the case of Brandon Barnes. Let me get all these names straight. I just looked into this. And his two co-accomplices, Tippett and Mims. This is a what we like to call a Blanco trash sort of case, if you catch my drift. Not even Jerry Springer would cover this level of shenanigans. Brandon meets Jessica, and they fall in love. Now, they're not living together. Brandon is living with... Let me get this straight, because this is all the shenanigans. So Jessica and Brandon are dating. Now, Brandon, unfortunately, is already in a relationship with one of his roommates named, Kendall Mims. Kendall, Mims, and him have a child together. Now, when Jessica moved into this polycule of madness, it was under the understanding that, they were in a dateship of the serious kind. They're living together. So Brandon decided to tell Jessica that Kendall was his sister and their child that they had together was his niece. Now, I'm guessing Jessica got, wise to that. Maybe when she saw Brandon boffin his sister. But unfortunately, now there were some shenanigans because apparently Brandon and, Kendall Mims had filed for a marriage license late in 2023. But at the end of, or in January of this year, he married Jessica and not Kendall. So I don't know if she just accepted her as like her sister wife. Again, why would you lie and make her your sister? Cousin, you could have gone cousin, but South Carolina, Appalachia, sister. And when you see him, you will wonder how his bait and tackle managed to lure in, well, 3 women, let alone 1 woman, really. Now, this beautiful young lady got married to this genetic dead end. Now, this genetic dead end seemed to be able to attract 3 women, impregnate one of them, and, smexualize the other one to where they watched him strangle his wife and then helped him hide the body. Let me check how old they are. I have several different articles up because I was trying to be all semi-professional and get all of my ish in a row. So Jessica Barnes was 20. And it doesn't look like they list the age. Now, South Carolina is one of the states that rarely gives legal documents out, like to the public, until the case is done. I did have our resident Jedi, Force of Good, Jedi Jess, look for any documentation so we could kind of get maybe more information. But as of right now, we don't know. Now, there are other articles that I will be kind of supplementing in as we go, but let's get into the hearing. Now, they are all being tried together for right now. Brandon is charged with, of course, murder, hiding the body, lying to police, that kind of jazz. The 2 females are the side chicken nuggets, if you will, the side chicks. They can almost, if they had a third, they could make the Dixie side chicks. It'd be, well, I mean, they're in South Carolina. They'd have to, the Raleigh side chicks. Anywho. They are charged with accessory after the fact, failure to report, and I think desecration of a corpse. I will get all of those charges for you before the next hearing. Again, working on little sleep, and I am semi-prepared. Like, I am a semi-professional funny person, and I think I'm doing okay sometimes. Okay, I can't stand it any longer. Ma'am, look, I know that you want to have long hair, and that is just not in the cards for you with your current hair condition. If you get this into a graduated bob, you are going to lose length. I understand. Add layers. You have very fine, thin hair. Length is not going to be good for you unless you have a lot of thin, fine hair. Please listen to me. Get some low lights. Find someone who loves you to do your hair, because this trial's going to hurt me. I had her as Bob, but Schlumpy McGrumpy sounds good. Oh my gosh, I'm sealing that, JKD Buck. Now, to add to all of this pain that Jessica had to deal with, she also endured a stillbirth of Brandon's baby and actually bonded before she knew that he was boffing the other roommate too, with the roommate who had lost her child too. So again, the betrayal of Jessica is beyond heartbreaking. She was sold a marriage happily ever after, or at least a relationship with 2 committed people that are going to work on, celebrating the humanness in each other and forgiving the humanness in each other. But she found out that the cousin wasn't, or the sister wasn't the sister, and the roommate was also boffing her husband. So just the level of betrayal along with the loss of a child, and then whichever one of you side chick, either Elf Ears or Slumpy McGrumpy, whichever one of you lost a child and bonded with the chick that you were cheating on her husband with while you were living there, like, extra levels of ick. Ew. What is wrong with you? Also, giblets in a ham basket. What is up with this tie? Orange and purple? Did your wife not even... Does your wife have color blindness or glaucoma? Or did you pick out your own tie? Or are you colorblind? I feel like there's several different explanations, but all of them are wrong. This tie is wrong. It's just so wrong. All of this is wrong. Okay, he is married, so either wife let him pick his own tie or he wanted to match his client.
All right, this is a combined case. We'll cover that on the state versus Victoria Lee Tippett on the charges arrest warrant ending in 1936, 1937, and 1938 with respect to charges of accessory after the fact, A, B, C, or murder, misprision of a felony, and obstructing justice, and the next defendant, Kendall Mims, on arrest warrant 1933, 1934, 1935 on the subsequent charges of accessory after the fact to felony A, B, or C murder, misprision of a felony, and obstructing justice. I see that, is everyone agreeing to hold these preliminary examinations at the same time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Both parties with attorneys for the defendants, and I don't think there's any objection from the solicitor's office.
No, sir, Your Honor.
I always say this, on cases such as these, I realize that these cases can be emotional, and I accept that fact. I know there may be victims, families in the courtroom. Please understand that my first priority is to protect the process and...
Oh, Lexi, that makes sense. What team is it, though? I didn't know there was an orange and purple team. Of course, I don't know much sports ball. I do know the Colts are blue and white, but that's because I live here. I wouldn't know that if I lived anywhere else. I don't even know what the Pacer colors are, but I do know we have a basketball team. Look, I'm evolving, I'm growing. One day I'll watch a sports ball game, I swear. Probably when I'm doing an infusion, though. Oh, no defense team colors. You know what? They are matching. Holy crowly. I will say if I were a defense attorney, I would color coordinate with the prison outfits of my defendants. Yeah, so the dude had a wife and these two side pieces. One of them is Victoria Lee Tippett, and one of them is Kendra K. What was her daggone it? My brain is Mims. Kendall Mims. Now, Kendall Mims is whoever, because I can't figure out who is who yet, but Kendall had the love child with Brandon, and then Victoria just boffed him. All while he was married. Well, the love child was just prior to them moving in. I don't know. The what in the Walmart rapture of this case is just off the scales. Like the Hillchuck American, stereotype, the Blanco trash stereotype is just off the freaking charts with this.
to protect decorum in the courtroom, so if there's any emotional outburst, I will remove you and or clear the courtroom for just the parties to be here. But I would say that just as a warning. So do we have any objection to waiving the reading of the warrants?
None from the defense, Your Honor.
I do like that this judge is, taking the pulse of this case, realizing that there are family members or possibly family members in the courtroom that have been, greatly hurt. And I do like judges that kind of lay down the law, but aren't, just at the beginning. I have found that if you set expectations at the beginning of something and put boundaries, people tend to react better when you enforce those boundaries. So, I don't know. I do like this sort of, okay, I know who he reminds me of, but it's very, very insulting. And I don't mean it in any terrible way. It's just how my brain works. So if any one of you are Star Wars, the prequel fan, Jar Jar Binks's, I guess like the mayor of the underwater city, I forget what his name was, and I don't want to sing the Weird Al song right now. I'm trying to remember, but I can't. But he reminds me of the mayor of the underwater city, which is not nice. Boss Nass, yes. Again, I am not saying that that's going on a thumbnail, but I'm not saying that it's not. Again, this is just how my brain works. It is not meant to be offensive or mean to anyone but the defendants. It is just, again, how my brain works. Because that's how I'll remember him, Judge Boss Nass. And then, I know exactly what case I'm doing instead of his name, like a normal person.
All right. Solicitor, if you would call your first client.
Yes, sir, Judge. State calls Steve Westcott.
Okay, Officer Westcott, if you would approach the stand, be prepared to be sworn. And if you would raise your right hand and be prepared to be sworn, do you swear and affirm that the testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, please answer any questions that the solicitor has.
Officer Westcott, can you state your full name and your position with the Pendleton PD for the court?
Officer Stephen Westcott, I'm a patrolman with Pendleton Police Department.
And all the parties are aware of this, but just for the court's knowledge, you are not the affiant on these warrants, but you are the chief investigative officer, lead investigator in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And did the offenses that led to these warrants relate to Miss Mims and Miss Tippett? For Miss Mims, the warrant ending in 933, 934, and 935, and the warrant ending in 936, 937, and 938 relating to Miss Tippett. Did those offenses happen in Anderson County and more specifically within the city of Pendleton?
Yes, sir.
This case has a lot of background, but can you tell the court how you established probable cause for these warrants and how your investigators and officers in this case established probable cause?
Yes, sir.
And ladies, if they lower that camera down, we can see some forearm action. Look at the short sleeves. I'm over here dressed in like 19 and a half layers, and he's over here in short sleeves. It's just not fair. Just not fair.
I'm going to go back to an incident which was not this incident. On July 31st, myself and Officer Bishop went to Jessica Barnes' mother's residence at 456 Jackson Street on a civil disturbance. At the end of it, Jessica Barnes was transported via ambulance to the Admin Hospital. Separating from that, on the 10th of September, Ms. Mormara, Jessica's mother, came into the office to report her daughter as missing.
And please, as much as I joke, as much as, excuse me, we get fun here, I speak from experience. If you are living in a relationship where you are scared, if it's if it's scared of, getting yelled at, if getting demeaned, of getting laid hands on, it is going to be the scariest thing in your life, but you can step away. I promise you. Please reach out, call the numbers that I read at the beginning of the stream. It breaks my heart as a mom of girls that are getting ready to go in the world, that this mom had to watch her daughter go away in an ambulance because of what Brandon did. So please, I know it's scary and I know you feel ashamed, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault. You can and will survive and thrive, but please leave for your life, because you deserve a full one. Now that goes for man, women, Zimzers, and even furries. I want all of you guys, all of my kiddos, to be happy and healthy and thriving. And if you're in a relationship like that, you're not. So I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be easy, but please, please consider it.
About a month and a half, it transpired.
So this case started out as a missing person case, correct?
Yes, sir, on the 10th of September.
And just for the court, for the record, the underlying felony that took place was a murder, correct?
Correct.
And who's the defendant that's charged with murder?
Brandon was.
Okay.
Jessica's up.
All right, now let's, from the date of the murder, what's the date of the murder?
Yeah, we determined that to be the 1st of August.
Okay, August 1st or August 2nd, somewhere in that time frame. Can you just tell the court now relating to obstruction, accessory after the fact, and misprision of felony, what these defendants and what their activity was to lead to those warrants from August the 1st or 2nd until the time that they were actually arrested?
On the 10th of September, after Ms. Mara had reported her daughter missing to us, we went to the address at 102 Laurel Drive and made contact with Brandon Barnes, Victoria Tippett, and Kendall Mims at the pool house located at that address. Again, the initial investigation was speaking with the three of them concerning the report of a missing person for Jessica Barnes. The answers that we were given that date, one of which was a written voluntary statement from Victoria Tippett, were that Victoria said she was the last person to have seen Jessica Barnes on 31 July, is what she wrote on her written statement, that she had come to the pool house, walked to the pool house. Victoria said that she had been outside walking, holding Valentina, the baby of Kendall, when she saw Jessica go to the pool house. Victoria went in the pool house still holding Valentina, said that there was a conversation with Jessica, asked her what she was doing. She said she was packing some belongings going to Michigan, but she wouldn't give any further information. Victoria then said that Jessica then left, and that was the last she had seen.
Judge, may I object for just a minute? May we approach the
Okay, so here's what I'm getting from the kind of timeline that I'm quickly trying to type out. So on July 31st, there was some sort of DV or civil disturbance at Jessica's mother's home that involved the police. They went out there, Jessica left in an ambulance. Now, it seems like Victoria Tippett is claiming that on either August the 1st or the 2nd, Jessica returned to the marital / polycule home and was getting ready to leave. She was done with this, and it is the most dangerous time when you are trying to leave one of these very controlling, not so great people. Now, according to Victoria, she was holding Kendall's daughter, Brandon, and her love child while they were arguing and fussing with each other. She then claims that she saw Brandon, unalive, Jessica. Both women say that they at least saw or knew of this. Then, after the fact, they helped Brandon dispose of Jessica's body about 5 miles away near a lake. Jessica was not reported missing until September the 10th by her mother. So you have a good chunk of time we are dealing with where they were probably lying and just trying to hide things. So this will be interesting. I do wonder if they are going to sever these cases to have the two women, be tried separately from Brandon, who will be facing a murder charge. So that will be interesting to see. And JKD Buck says, in our area, we have a battered woman shelter that moves location. Only the people who need to know where it's at at any given time. Yes, there are resources. It is scary. I'm not going to lie, but please consider it, or at least start considering it.
It hasn't already been said.
Yes, sir, twice.
Officer Westcott, can you, when we refer to the minor child, can we just refer to them as the minor child?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And you can keep going forward. So you were at the point where Ms. Tippett had given you all a voluntary statement.
After we got the voluntary.
Lady Tammy, we are watching a preliminary hearing in the, trial of 3 different defendants. The main defendant, or kind of the defendant that has the largest charge, is Brandon Barnes. He is accused of strangling his wife to death and then burying her body about 5 miles away from his home. Now, Jessica, his wife, wasn't the only woman in his life. These 2 people that you see on screen are respectively Victoria Tippett and Kendra Mims. Brandon and Kendra were still kind of in a relation dateship when Jessica moved in, thinking she was going into monogamy and not sister-wife craziness. So Brandon decided to lie to her at the beginning of their relationship when they were just moving in and kind of getting settled. And he said that Kendra, the woman he had a child with, was his sister and his daughter was his niece. Now, he also was having a relationship with Victoria, but they hadn't had a child yet. Now, somewhere along this shenanigans, Brandon was supposed to marry Kendall, the woman he had a child with, but he ended up marrying Jessica this year in January. Now, Jessica, her poor life was just, with Brandon, was just kind of awful. I want to say they, but I really want to say her, because I don't think Brandon cared that much, if I'm guessing the situation right. But Jessica also experienced a stillbirth in the time that she was in a relationship with Brandon. They lost their child. And in a twisted and sick and cruel thing, Victoria and Jessica bonded over their shared pain of losing a child, all while Victoria was secretly behind her back, sleeping with her husband. Well, the final straw was probably Jessica finding out that the woman she had been going for solace was actually, solacing her husband too. She went to her mother's house on January 31st of this year. Now, guessing on what I'm hearing, and South Carolina is not good about giving public, documents until the case is over. There was a civil disturbance, a DV disturbance at Jessica's mother's house. Jessica had left the home at this time. She wanted to start over and possibly leave the state. whatever happened at this DV, domestic disturbance sort of thing, Jessica left her mother's home in an ambulance. Now, that's July 31st. On either August the 1st or August 2nd, Jessica returned to the marital home to, according to Victoria, pack up her stuff and get ready to start a brand new life and, wash Brandon out of her hair. Brandon was not okay with this. He decided to strangle her. Now, both women, after the fact, after they were caught, claimed to have seen Brandon doing this. They also then helped him move the body and hide it, and then kind of misdirect or lie to the police for a period of about a month or so, because Jessica wasn't reported missing until September the 10th by her mother. So it was after that that the remains were found and these three were charged. Now, Victoria Tippett is charged with accessory after the fact murder, misprison, and obstruction of justice. Now, I will have to look up what misprison means, and Kendra also has the same charges. Brandon has all the same charges plus a felony murder, or not felony, a whatever they call it in South Carolina when it's a bad murder. I think it's A or B or C. There's so many different rules. And Candy Begley says the shelter here has a bright purple sign and awnings because we want people to know that we will not hide and we protect, oh, for the love of Cheetos, what is that? We'll protect people that need that. Yeah, this is a lot of shenanigans. I am going to try to see if I can do with my portable whiteboard, a little bit of a murder board to kind of get this out and make it easy to understand. So we might have a story time tomorrow or later on this afternoon if I'm feeling froggy and want to bring the dry erase easel upstairs. It's movable, but I'd much rather Mr. Mo have to carry it up the stairs. I'm feeling what we like to call clinically a lack of motivation, or in layman's terms, lazy.
Statement from Ms. Tippett, it was verbal from Ms. Mims.
Is this being delayed or is this live?
I don't think it's going out live.
Okay, so any mention of any minor thing could be redacted.
I'll let her know.
Sorry.
Yes, sir. Victoria was the only one who gave us a written statement. It was a verbal interview with Ms. Mims and Mr. Barnes. Mr. Barnes said that Jessica previously has left for extended periods of time, so he wasn't concerned about her being gone at this point. Ms. Mims had very little to say. It's very deferential toward Mr. Barnes. After we had gotten a written statement, that concluded the missing persons investigation. What we had very little at that point. Investigation continued over the following days. We got information from Ronald Heron that he had tracking devices, that he had put on vehicles that were registered to Brandon Barnes.
Can I stop you for just a second? Can you tell the court who Ronald Heron is?
He is the grandfather of Kendall.
Okay.
He's the property owner of 102 Laurel.
And what's the relationship between 102 Laurel, where all of the defendants live in there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So 102 Laurel has a main house on it, which is where Mr. Heron resides, and there's a pool house on the property as well, which is where Barnes, Mims, Tippett, and Minor Child will reside.
All right, let's go back to those trackers. Mr. Heron had trackers on these vehicles?
On the Chevy HHR registered to Brandon Barnes and a Kia registered, I believe it was in Mr. Heron's name, but it was used by Kendall Mims.
And just for the court's knowledge, those trackers were on these vehicles prior to law enforcement ever being involved in this case?
Yes, sir. Law enforcement had nothing to do with the trackers.
Why did he put the trackers on the vehicles?
What he told us was that because he had a financial interest in them, he was the lien holder, paid for the vehicles. And there was some type of issue from Mr. Barnes' previous relationship, that he didn't feel safe with Kendall, and there was some other incident that we were not involved in, so he put the trackers on these two vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like a real logical reason. Do you want me to give you the real reason? So he could control his harem. So he would know exactly where these women were every second of the day. Now, again, if I look like Brandon, let's just bring this up because I want you to remember the genetic dead end that we are, skewering here. But if I looked like Brandon and I had a harem, and especially a woman that looked like Jessica who was wanting to leave me because I look like a ridiculous Muppet. No, you know who he looks like? This is travesty. Okay, I know who he looks like, and this saddens me greatly because this is a good character, and I don't want him to look like this, but I love that I have a Labyrinth book on tap to make but he's got a bit of hoggle in him. But also, and I think more sadly, come on, not that. Oh, and I love him, but he looks exactly like him. Ludor. He looks like Ludor. He has a Ludor face. And it pisses me off because, honestly, I like Ludor. Yeah, Ludo. I love Ludo. He's a good guy. And I don't want you to taint it, but that's the association that my brain makes. I don't know what's wrong with me, you guys. I'm sure a team of Freudian psychologists would have a field day and a half with me. But there you go. Welcome to the mind of Mo. Watch your step. It's scary in here. No, but when I read the book for real, when I have my actual setup, I'll be able to have cameras that will, and since I read upside down easily, I can just have it posted on there and I can read it. It'll be right side up for you, but upside down for me. So that'll be nice so you can actually see the pages. And there will be a codpiece because I demand it with googly eyes. All right, back off that kind of rando tangent. But yeah, he didn't want those because he was afraid the vehicles were going to be stolen or that he was the, loan holder. He wanted control of these women because people like this are deathly afraid that people won't put up with their shenanigans, and they won't. They leave. And to keep you from leaving, to keep you from realizing that you don't deserve any of this crap, they will try to keep you there. And they will track you.
I'm going to jump a little bit. Eventually, Mrs. Barnes's body, it goes from a missing person case to a murder, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how did y'all discover that?
Based on the tracker information from these vehicles, we were able to learn that the vehicles, particularly the HHR, had made multiple trips from the Laurel Drive address out to a location on Twin Lakes Drive.
This ish eating grin, this absolute delicious irony that the trackers that he kept on the cars to keep these women under control are his downfall is absolutely delicious irony. And I wish Jessica hadn't had to die. But the what in the Walmart factor in this case is up to DEFCON 35. So we are just here for the what in the Walmart rapture. And it's not even the case yet.
Which is in Pickens County. And at this particular location, there's a pathway which leads down to Lake Hartwell, some type of quarry. And where we found there were multiple trips for extended periods starting on August 1st to, I believe, August 4th or 5th, where the vehicle's out there for, anywhere from a half an hour to, more than 2 hours at a time. And then the vehicle would return to Laurel Drive and then go back to this particular location on Twin Lakes Road. So with that information, seeing that there's no activity on Jessica Barnes' social media accounts, no activity on various cell phones. Mother, with the initial report being she hadn't heard from her daughter in over a month, and had received no phone calls, no text messages. From that information, we put together a plan to go search the location using various resources, including a canine cadaver dog, which is not law enforcement, it is a private entity. We did that on September 19th, out at the location around where the tracker indicated the vehicle had been for extended periods. During the course of this search, we had multiple search teams in a number of locations. Officer Bishop and an officer from Clemson University found a location which indicated something had been burned off of the trail. Would have been no more than a quarter mile, I'm thinking, from the parking area where the HHR had been repeatedly. I was with the canine cadaver dog, made our way over to that location, and the cadaver dog made an indication that there were human remains there. A coroner, Candy Kelly from Pickens County, was contacted. She came to the scene. She indicated that there seemed to be human remains. A Clemson University professor of licensee, also an anthropologist, came out to the scene. She searched through the burn pile, and she...
And thank you to the medical examiners. Oh, Clemson is purple and orange. That does make the tie make sense. I just figured as a defense attorney he wanted to match his clients. But the Clemson thing makes so much more sense. So I know it's a little bit random, but I so appreciate that, what the medical examiners do, especially after the Megan Boswell case, but also the anthropologists, the professors of anthropology that come out to these scenes and give their expertise and their knowledge to help these victims find a voice. I find that incredibly heartwarming that they are using the skills that they have to try to right a wrong or give families answers. So I'm often struck by the amount of care and attention to detail and, attempts to give dignity to the victim that these professionals show that the perpetrator never did. It's always a very weird juxtaposition for me.
Said that yes, there were human remains in this pile. So from that point, the scene was secured. It was getting later in the afternoon. Pickens County stayed on the scene. SLED, who was also involved in this search, they came out on the following day, on the 20th.
I'm gonna stop you right there. Can you whose human remains did those end up being?
Ultimately, they were the dental remains which were found in the pile. There were 3 teeth and a piece of a jawbone. It was determined to be the remains of Jessica Barnes.
And there's limited remains just from them being burned, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were there any other remains found in any other locations?
Yes, sir. Following this search on the 20th, ultimately there was a search warrant conducted following interview with the 3 suspects on the 1st of October when they were ultimately arrested. And during their interviews, Victoria Tippett had said that there was a bucket, like a 5-gallon bucket that was out at the property at 102 Laurel Drive, which also contained some of Jessica Barnes' remains.
I want to, thank you for that. I want to jump now to, we know that there was a murder that took place. Can you tell the court how Ms. Tippett
Throw a
and
fish
Ms.
stick on the
Mims
ground and
either
pray.
learned of the murder, had knowledge of the murder, who was there, who wasn't there, that sort of thing?
Yes, sir. So when the murder took place in the residence, Victoria Tippett was there with a minor child when the murder took place by Brandon Barnes.
And what was the manner of death? How was she killed?
She was choked to death.
And how did you learn of that?
Ultimately, it was through the interviews.
Okay, so basically, the defendants confessed to her being strangled.
Yes, sir, on 1 October. There were a number of interviews prior to that where they had ample opportunity to tell us what had taken place, and they had never confessed to what had happened.
Okay, and now I just want to be clear on who was present when the murder took place.
Brandon Barnes strangled Jessica Barnes. Victoria Tippett was present with the minor child.
So Ms. Tippett's knowledge of the murder was that she witnessed the murder, basically.
Oh my gosh, y'all. I'm going to have to order legal pads because I'm over here writing notes like a lawyer. And, like the little Mo that could of the council, like the one that's always just happy and wants a sticker for just doing like regular stuff, is like, you're taking notes like a professional. Go you. She's like my little, like, you're doing a good thing adulting today. Kind of, again, she's like the small and tiny voice of like confidence, but she's always there like, hey, you're a cheerleader. Look, you're taking notes. You need a bigger notepad. Again, the things that are going through. Look, I'm blaming it on the lack of sleep and the snow.
She was in the room when it took place.
And where was Miss Mims at the time of the murder?
She was at work.
Okay, so she wasn't on location when
She
the
was
murder took
not present when the murder took place.
Okay, now I want you to tell the court a little bit about how Miss Mims came to learn of the murder.
It was determined that she was told what had happened when she came home from work, and at this point, Jessica Barnes' remains had already been placed into a large Rubbermaid type tote that was purchased by Brandon Barnes and Victoria Tippett using Kendall Mims' debit card at the Central Walmart.
And so her body was in a plastic tote, is that what?
Yes, sir.
And when was the tote that the body went into purchased, before or after the murder?
After the murder.
Okay. And how did y'all come to find out that they had purchased it at Walmart?
Sledges and Kevin Tyner had found that there was audio or video surveillance of the purchase at the Walmart, and you can see Brandon Barnes and Victoria Tippett walking out of the Walmart with a tote and a shovel that they had purchased on top of the tote.
And that was prior to Kendall Mims having knowledge that this murder had taken place, correct?
At the time the tote was purchased, yes.
She hadn't returned home from work at that time when they had purchased the tote, correct?
That I'm not sure of.
Okay. But ultimately, Kendall came home from work.
Correct.
And how did she learn of the murder?
She was told by Brandon
Okay.
Barnes and Victoria Tippett what had taken place.
Okay. All right. Now that they all know that this incident has taken place, walk the court through their actions from, the time the murder took place until you've already testified that her body eventually being burned. Tell the court a little bit about how they got from the pool house with the body to the Twin Lakes Road location.
So Mr. Heron also has a ring camera system at his residence. You can, at some point, you can see the tote being brought out of the pool house by Brandon Barnes with the assistance of Ms. Mims and Victoria Tippett due to it, the dead weight of the body being in the tote. It's put in the HA.
Even though this is not a child case, this is going to be a hard one. We are probably going to see that ring video, which is going to be just heartbreaking to watch, knowing that Jessica is in there. She was trying to break away, and unfortunately, he didn't let her go. So this will be a rough one. We will bring all the snark. I am taking all the notes so that I can try to make a small murder board to make this make sense, because this is all tangly and twisty and just all of the Walmart rapture. I mean, even the cops like, look, I don't like, they don't represent us. The state of South Carolina would like you to know that we don't claim them.
HR, again, it's driven around, apparently what they told us was they were searching for a location to dispose of the remains before they ultimately ended at the location on Twin Lakes Road in Pickens County.
And did the tracking devices show y'all them driving around?
Yes, sir.
But they also, in their statements and interviews, explain this process?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, let's tell the court how they eventually picked Twin Lakes Road.
From Brandon Barnes that said it was a location, well, they had checked the location in Georgia and determined that it wasn't a good location for whatever their reasoning was. Ended up at the Twin Lakes location, according to Mr. Barnes, it was the first place Jessica Barnes had gone on a date, so it had some kind of sentimental value to him.
This human excuse for the funk that you get between your toes put her body where they had their first date? Oh, the bitch fire will be strong on this one. The absolute utter scorn for this man-child wannabe harem owner. I can't, ugh. Look, this is not a representation of Appalachian or hillbilly, hillchuck, or just plain rural American behavior. We do not do this, we do not condone this, and we shun those that do, because they make us look redonkulous.
They tried to dig using the shovel they had purchased at Walmart. And we were able to find that spot where they had tried to dig on the trail before determining that they couldn't dig or get through the hard packed dirt. At which point they made a determination to burn the remains. And while this was taking place, and again, it was a number of trips that they made out there. We have text messages between Victoria Mims and Kendall. Victoria Tippett and Kendall Mims.
Very good point. Lexi, my jerk-face butt monkey was charged with attempted unaliving. Cases like this, while difficult, are important because they, unfortunately, are something to learn from for those that help victims. Absolutely. And if you see this yourself in this case, if you're a man, a woman, a child, a Zimzer, please, please, please ask for help. And Lexi, thank you for sharing your story. I know it's not always easy to do that, but if people can see that you can walk away from this and you can be okay, I think that gives you courage. It does give you courage to know that there is a future and a life after this. Now, had I known that this would have been such a charged case, I don't know that I would have picked it, but it got me with the spaghetti love triflincto. Like, what in the Bob Ross is this love quadrangle?
And was out at the roadway keeping watch while Victoria Tippett and Brandon Barnes were at the remaining site attempting to dispose of the body.
And did they? So all three of the co-defendants were at the Twin Lakes Road location?
Yes, sir.
Was there any other time that they were at the Twin Lakes Road location that you know of?
Multiple times.
Okay.
I roughly 10 times between the time of the murder and when we discovered it.
Was the car data, the tracker data, the only evidence that you had with them out there? But you also had the text messages. Was there anything else that showed that they were out there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. When did SLED get involved in this case? When it became a missing persons case?
No, sir. It would have been a few days later. I want to say it was roughly the 14th of September when Mr. Heron told us about the trackers being on the vehicles.
Okay. And you mentioned the Ring doorbell cameras, and I apologize if you've already went over it, but can you tell the court what the Ring doorbell cameras captured the night of the incident?
I'm not positive of the exact dates right now, but at various times, Kendall Mims is seen carrying gas cans, which would have been stored behind the pool house. I believe they were blue gas cans. And SLED was able to determine that an accelerant was used at the burn site. And at some point, as I said earlier, it wasn't just a burn site. There were cut trees were placed over the burn site. And Mr. Heron has a battery-operated saw, which you can see on the camera, was taken from under the carport and then brought back.
Okay. I'm gonna jump back to the bucket. Would the bucket with the remains in it, bucket already at Mr. Heron's home, or was it purchased at some point, or are you aware of that?
They had purchased a bucket at Lowe's as well as a 50-pound bag of, I don't think it was Quikrete, but that type of product. And then ultimately, the remains were put in a different bucket, not the bucket they had purchased at Lowe's.
And who was present when they purchased that bucket and the concrete?
All three parties were at the Lowe's.
And in their interviews, did all three parties know what was in that bucket once y'all discovered it?
Yes, sir. We would not have known about the bucket had they not told us the bucket was there, because the bucket, we had to obtain a separate search warrant following the interviews, and the bucket was away from where the pool house was. It was in it, kind of hidden under some not debris, but some overgrowth that was there at the property.
Okay. I just have a few more questions for you. Between the time of the death and the time of their arrest,
So he wouldn't even let her leave in death. He put her remains into a bucket, covered it in concrete, but he wouldn't let part of her leave. Now, to me, this really speaks of that control dynamic, and him getting the final word, the one up over her, you can never leave, or you can only leave when I pick you up and move you. Essentially, that's what he wanted from all these women, I guess. And I am an armchair psychologist. I'm just a mom of 6 who's seen some stuff. That's my speculation and my lay professional, opinion. But it does seem very psychologically, and I don't give him the kind of perspective and intelligence to realize that's what he's doing. But from an outsider who has that kind of perspective, it is definitely a final act of control over someone who tried to leave him, and that's not allowed.
you mentioned that the defendants went down to, did you say Georgia?
Yes, sir.
Did they go anywhere else in that window of time between August 1st and when they were arrested, I believe October 1st or so?
Yes, sir. I want to say it was around September 14th, 15th. Mr. Heron had called me and said that wanted to let me know that they were up in Tennessee. And he had this information via the tracker, which he had already given permission to us, both verbally and in writing, to use his login information. Following his phone call, I did log in and saw that they had made a trip from Pendleton up to Tennessee, and then ultimately they drove west across Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, ultimately staying in Colorado. Mr. Heron said because Mr. Heron is co-owner of a banking account with Ms. Mims. He said that he could see that they had a room booked in Colorado for 2 days. They checked out after the first day and then came back to Pendleton.
And why did they go out there? A vacation or?
What they said was they went to Tennessee for vacation. Why they went further, ultimately they told us it was due to the pressure they were receiving via social media and our questioning.
Was there any video at the burn site?
Yes, sir. So following the information that they had gone west, we had already located the burn site. And when we saw that they were returning and getting fairly close to South Carolina.
Okay, you guys definitely need a legal pad. I already have nearly 10 pages of notes. This case is a cluster F. I wish Nicholas wasn't so sick because I definitely need like a co-conductor of fuckery. Because this case is all fuckery. It just is. This is a twisted ridiculousness that even Jerry Springer himself and Maury Povich would not touch with a 10-foot pole. And I got pressure from social media. You unalived or you knew someone was unalived. You knew. And one of you, Victoria, crud, what is Tippett, Victoria Tippett. You know how hard it is to lose a child. You bonded with Jessica over losing a child. Now, I would think that would bond you like soul deep to a person when you're able to share a grief that many people don't understand, the hole that it leaves in your heart. And you knew that her mother was experiencing the same thing, that Jessica's mother was feeling the deep worry, pain, and loss of losing a child, and you still held your mouth shut. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that's a special kind of flippin' evil to me.
SLED put a trail camera out at the recovery site, and upon their return to Pendleton, one of the first things they did was went out to the burn site, and on the trail camera you can see with the tracker information the vehicle goes to the burn site. They get out, they walk right to the burn site, and where their images are captured looking at where the burn site had been.
Okay, I have 2 or 3 more questions. Was there any blood at the scene of the murder that you know of?
The initial search and then following search didn't indicate anything with the various means that SLED forensics used, but during the interview, Victoria had stated that she and Brandon had gone to Food Line to purchase bleach, and there were 2 other products, I can't recall off the top of my head, but they had obtained those because following the strangling, that some type of fluid had come out of Jessica's mouth, so they used that. They made these purchases to clean up that small spot.
Okay, and that was Victoria and Brandon.
Yes, sir.
And you've already testified to it a little bit, but y'all spoke to the 3 defendants multiple times between the time of the murder and the time they were arrested, correct?
Yes, sir.
And were they truthful with y'all throughout that time?
Negative.
They were not truthful?
No.
And they never told you what actually happened until the interviews right before they were arrested?
October 1st, yes, sir.
So, you guys, this is from this year. This is a preliminary hearing. It's the reading of the warrant. I don't know why it went silent.
While Miss Barnes was missing, did the defendants do anything in the community to sort of look like they were looking for her? Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir. One evening, I was transferred a phone call from Brandon Barnes where he was asking if he could get the missing person flyer that the town had created, and he was told that he could print it off the town website. He also, the three of them, Brandon, Victoria, and Kendall, at some point met with a reporter in the downtown square area. Brandon was apparently carrying the remains of his.
Okay, let me see if I can find the Brandon Barnes interview with these three jackals, because this has intrigued me. Oh, no. All right, this is Carolina news. So,
Across a case that has been this particular or peculiar.
okay, let's see if they have. These are the parents, and local news is a pain in the behind hole. Okay, this is after. They might have scrubbed it, or I don't know. If you live in South Carolina and you have access to the interview that these jackals gave, that would be lovely, because I would love to see if they pulled a full Megan Boswell or a Letitia Stalk, an interview so sus that they, were all the guilty all the way. Like the TV interview where you go, she is all the guilty. Especially Letitia, this look. The back of the head, the greasy hair. She is just a dumpster fire that keeps on giving.
Deceased child, and he spoke with a reporter, indicating that they were attempting to search for Jessica.
Did Brandon?
Incoming tapestry of cursey words. This is not monetized right now, so, curse jar, swearwood jar donations are always appreciated. But if you just like to press the like button and share this shit show with everyone else. But this absolute butt monkey, cancer on the soul of humanity that needs to be radiated, allegedly in Minecraft, held the remains of his stillborn child while he knew that his wife was dead. He had buried her, put her remains in concrete in the back freaking yard, buried the rest to where all that was left was some teeth, 3 teeth, and some jawbones. And he has the ever flippin' Bob Ross nerve to use his deceased angel baby to gather sympathy when he knows that he took the life of his wife, and not from afar, but close up with his own flippin' hands. Are you flippin' flapjack kidding me? What in the chia pet is going on here? I am about ready to shut the front door. I am trying not to curse because I curse way too much. My favorite word is the F word, and I'm trying to be a better fucking human, but these people keep murdering really innocent people, and it's pissing me off. Okay, I feel better now. But there are depths to which I just don't think that anyone can sink, and then they sink to them. But that is the sludge at the bottom of a White Castle dumpster level behavior. Like that's the crusty stuff that you get on in your eyes when you wake up. That is that kind of behavior. You get them out and you throw them in the trash can with a Kleenex because we're not heathens.
Ask y'all for flyers for her missing persons case. Was that after the ultimate date of that Miss Barnes had died?
Well after.
Okay. And did Miss Tippett or Miss Mims have any activity in regards to putting out missing persons flyers?
I don't know that they put out any flyers, but they were with him when they met with the reporter.
Okay. And that was when he was putting out flyers, is that correct?
I don't know that he put out flyers.
Okay.
He was told that he could print them off. I don't know if he did or not.
Okay. But, so why did they met with the reporter to talk about her being missing? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And all three of them were there at that time speaking
Yes,
with the
sir.
reporter? Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to inform the court of related to these warrants?
No, sir.
I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. Please support. Thank you for being here today, Officer Westcott. You said earlier in your testimony that the missing persons report was filed by Ms. Rivera on September
10th.
10th. Okay. And there was nothing from anyone else before that date?
Yes, ma'am.
There was. Okay. 10th.
No, there was nothing.
Sorry. So September 10th. And
So, Lady
so the first thing
Tammy,
y'all did was you went to 102 Laurel.
now according to the timeline, Jessica knew nothing about these extra relationships when she moved into the house. She was told that one of these women was his sister and the other one was just a roommate helping with kind of paying the rent, things like that. So Jessica didn't know what she was walking into. And once you get into these kind of controlling relationships, once you're in the house, once you don't have access to a car unless it has a tracker, and I do believe the tracker was put on by Mr. Heron. So I revise my trackers being Brandon's, hoisted on his own petard, because it was actually, I think, the owner of the house. So all of these people lived in a pool house. I'm still new to the story, so I need to do more digging as to how they ended up in the pool house and living there. But it seems like the owner of the house also let them use these cars, and he was the one that had a tracker on them. So the police were able to reach out to this Mr. Heron and get all of this tracker information because the pool house, seemed, at least Kendall was specifically named, seemed to not be very honest about using the cars. So he did install trackers, which kind of led the police directly to the scene of the crime. These two are wearing orange because they are accessories after the fact. Basically, these two were side chicken nuggets, the wrong side chicks of Brandon Barnes. He was married to Jessica Barnes. Jessica Barnes found out about both illicit affairs and a love child, wanted to leave about July 31st of this year, ended up leaving in an ambulance because Brandon did not like that idea. Got out of the hospital, decided several days later, either August the 1st or 2nd, that she was done with this shenanigans of a relationship and was going to leave. Now, Victoria was there with the love child of Kendall and witnessed the unaliving. Now, when Kendall got home, she was told what happened. Victoria and Brandon had already bought a roller tote to put Jessica's remains in, and basically they kind of split her remains. Some of them were burned out on this property that is also owned by Mr. Heron, and then some were placed in a bucket, and I don't know if they put the concrete in. I'm assuming they did because they bought concrete in a bucket at Lowe's. And that bucket with the rest of her remains was placed kind of in the brush, sort of near the pool house. All of this came out due to the trackers and everything else. Yes, I will be working on a murder chart. Jessica was girl 3. Jessica had, from what I'm reading and what I'm trying to research, and I will be listening to interviews that her mother has given on the subject of DV and her daughter and, warning signs. I will try to see if I can go through those and get more information for you guys. But as far as I know, with the information I have right now, Jessica was unaware that the other 2 girls existed. Again, Brandon had said that Kendall, the woman he had a child with, was his sister, and that child was his niece. And then he said that Victoria was just a roommate. I don't think Jessica knew until she was in too deep, until, she had moved in, he had taken her keys, her cell phone, and she couldn't easily get out. And one of the the straws that broke the camel's back was she did walk in on Brandon and Victoria, and that's kind of what caused the July 31st blow up. So it's all shenanigans. I am taking all the notes so that I can make a coherent mini murder board and get that to you guys, because this case is going to be redonkulous. And I'm glad we got in on the hearings so that we can really know a lot of what's going on, because this is a dense case.
Drive.
Yes, ma'am.
And you spoke to all 3 parties?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and were you there personally, or did you watch any of the interviews?
I was there.
And did you speak to them alone, or were they together?
When we initially made contact, all 3 of them were inside the residence. Eventually, Officer Middlecom in Victoria asked her to step outside with her to speak with them, with her, while myself, Officer Bishop, were speaking with Ms. Mims and Brandon Barnes inside the residence.
Okay. So Ms. Mims was inside of Mr. Barnes?
Correct.
Thank you. Now, when you got word about the missing persons case, and after you went out and spoke to the parties, did you have an opportunity to run like a background check on these individuals?
At that point, there was no need. All we had was a missing persons case.
Okay. And do you know whether or not police ever went to this scene when a 2-long drive before the September 17th?
I was there.
For what reasons?
I was there in 2023. I don't remember the exact date. I think it was October. There was a report where Officer Carpenter was investigating an incident. I don't recall the exact incident, but I went there to make contact while he was out on Jackson Street talking to, I believe it was Ms. Romero. I'm not positive who he was talking to. I never went to Jackson Street in 2023 on that incident. But he asked me to go to the Laurel, where I made contact, my body cam. You can see Brandon Barnes, Jessica Barnes, Jessica Barnes at the time, and Kendall Mims were there.
Okay. And were you aware of Ms. Barnes' stillborn baby?
During the course of the investigation, we became aware of it, yes.
Okay. And at what point in time did you learn about prior domestic violence incidences that had occurred at that residence?
We never had any reports of domestic violence incidents at the residence.
Okay. But when you looked up information about Mr. Barnes, at whatever point that you did you find that there were hints and instances that looked like domestic violence had occurred?
Not with these parties. We did learn that he had been arrested for domestic violence in the state of Maine.
And that he also had a juvenile record for something along those lines as well?
Yes.
Okay. So you said that during this investigation, you did become aware of the stillborn.
Yes, ma'am.
And were you privy to those medical records?
During the course of the investigation,
Y'all, I am going to lose my flippity jibbity flapjacks if there are hints that this man laid hands on this baby. I am going to need all of us to come together because the debt I am going to owe to the curse fucking jar if this monster piece of donkey dung laid hands on his child or laid hands on Jessica to the point that this baby lost its life. Y'all, I'm going to turn into a honey badger. Someone's going to have to hold me back, and I'm going to just go, "Arrgh." Look, I have never been in a real actual, fisticuffy, but I feel like God would grant me the strength and Tybo magic powers to haymaker the ever-living shit out of this dung pile, allegedly in Minecraft, if I find this out. I believe that I could become Neo from Matrix with the level of my rage if I find this out. This case is becoming a bigger... I said no kid case. MF it. Daggone it. I specifically looked at... Well, I didn't see the thing about the stillbirth, but I specifically was looking for something that was a dumpster fire with no children. Daggone it.
we learned Anderson County Sheriff's Office had investigated that incident, had made a report on it, and we do have their report.
Okay, because in the medical records, as well as the deputy, Officer Free State, who responded, said they noticed bruising all over Mrs. Barnes' body, and Officer Free State mentioned it as well. I think at least one other officer had, went out and noticed Ms. Barnes' black eyes. Were you aware of that during your investigation?
We never had a report of a domestic violence incident.
Okay. So, at any point in time, did you attempt to triangulate the phones between these individuals?
We ultimately, through the investigation, had search warrants, got all their phones, did the phone dumps. We have all the phone information.
Okay, so you did do
Triangulation, no, that was not part of it.
Okay. Is that not something that's done when there's a missing persons report?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Now, you said that they were for...
Is she watching the A-Team? Are we going to synchronize our watches too? Although I don't, again, understand why you synchronize watches. I know it's probably... Look, y'all, I am naturally blonde here. I've never figured out why they needed to synchronize watches. I'm sure it's a super simple thing and I'm being incredibly dense. But what is she thinking? Like, we're going to triangulate the topography of the geography of South Carolina? They had the trackers. The morons went directly to the scene of the crime, multiple up to 10 times or more to, check things. They went on a vacation to get away from the pressure of everyone asking questions. And then went directly back to the scene of the crime and were caught on, the trail cam. So we don't need to triangulate. We don't need to, synchronize our watches or get Mr. T. Because we kind of have you by, well, the bits, if you will.
Forensics of the phones?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you get a warrant for those forensics?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you got it yourself or someone else did?
Multiple officers were working on it. I believe the phone dump warrants were obtained by Officer Pendleton.
I hate my husband's chair.
Now, at any point in time, did you attempt to speak to the...
Okay, Lexi, I retract that statement. We need Mr. T when Brandon comes out. As much as I want to really, really dislike these two women, and I do mean I really, really dislike cheaters, I know people like this. And these women were probably hurting and in a low stage in their life. It doesn't excuse what they did. I don't care how scared you are. They're still right and they're still wrong. And there's still that what it's like as a mother to lose a child, Victoria, and you let a mother go through the pain of not knowing where her child was and not knowing that she was lost. So I think you guys have a lot of redemptionation to do, but you could be redeemable. Now, Brandon, we need Mr. T and TNT. And I have some ideas, allegedly in Minecraft. But I think we could get 6 in.
The victim out of Maine,
She called, yes, ma'am.
she did call?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you speak to her?
Yeah, at some point, let me back that up. I don't know that I spoke to her. I believe Officer Middlecom spoke to her.
And did she express concerns about strangulation?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to ever question Ms. Mims by herself?
During the course of the investigation, we spoke with all of them multiple times.
But did you ever have an opportunity to speak to her by herself?
They were always together.
And where was the minor child when this was occurring?
Okay, so Grumpy McSlouchy Pants is Kendra Mims. So she is the one with the bob. The one with the elf ears and, incredibly large traps. I don't know. Is Victoria. So we finally have, I finally figured it out based on the defense attorneys and who they're representing. So by the sound and the general kind of questions that this attorney is asking, I do believe they will be going for a Sarah Boone account or a Sarah Boone defense of, battered spouse being somewhat of a, umbrella. Now, I don't know if you can use battered spouse or coercion or things like that in this kind of case, but it does seem that she is the lawyer and Kendra seemed to be very much leaning into he was not a good guy. He laid hands on all of us and we were scared. I don't know how that's going to play out, but I can see just based kind of on the questions, that's my general speculation is as to where this is going to go. And I doubt that it will be any different for Victoria.
You talking about the murder?
No. I know where the issue was. Where was the minor child when you were questioning Ms. Mims?
Which time?
Any of the times?
I believe she was typically in the care of Mr. Herron.
Okay. All right, so, but you said that you did end up, when you said that they were together, are you meaning Mr. Barnes and Ms. Mims were together? He was there, or did you mean somebody else was Ms. Mims?
Typically, it was always Ms. Tippett, Ms. Mims, Mr. Barnes.
Okay.
He was a very controlling individual, we found.
Now, I know you said you had an opportunity to speak to her grandfather, Mr. Herron,
Yes.
on several occasions, and he was really helpful.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now I'm piecing it together. Now it's starting to make sense. All the things are coming clear, which for me is not a natural state of being. All right, Victoria Tippett's, her grandfather is Mr. Herron. So Mr. Herron is the one who owns the house. They live in the pool house. I believe he gives them access to cars to use for things. Now, I don't know why these 3 grownish people are living in the pool house. I don't know what their employment is or if they're working with Mr. Herron to do jobs around and he gives them a house to live in. I don't know. But he is the one that had trackers placed on the car because apparently Kendall or Kendra, sorry, did something, maybe took the car too long or something like that. Brandon, I believe, is in his 20s. All the articles haven't given an actual age for him. Jessica was 20, so maybe early 20s, mid 20s. I will try to find that out.
Case. Did you by chance get a search warrant for the GPS trackers at any point in time?
I believe SLED had taken one of those, didn't they? I believe.
Okay.
Or if not, a warrant Mr. Heron had given us permission, both verbally and in writing, as I stated.
And you stated earlier that Mr. Heron is not on Mr. Barnes' title, but he is.
He is on, he's on the HHR, registered Mr. Barnes, and on the Kia, which I believe is registered Mr. Heron with Ms. Mims as well.
Did you have an opportunity to review the ring camera?
I did not review the ring cameras, that Sled
Okay.
did the review of the rest of the ring cameras.
And then based upon their report, based upon their report about what occurred on the ring cameras, you made decisions about the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, how many times have you worked with domestic violence victims or responded to domestic violence calls?
Over the course of 16 years, I can't give you a number.
Right.
Many times.
And so I am going to assume, and I would like for you to correct me if I'm wrong, that you've gotten some domestic violence training?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you concerned at all about domestic violence in the house at any point in time?
No, like again, as I said, we have never received a call to the Laurel Drive address for an incident. I believe it was 4 calls roughly to the Jackson Street address where Mrs. Barnes' mother resided, and Miss Barnes, Jessica Bavara at the time, had resided.
But during the course of your investigation, when you discovered probably some pretty alarming information, did you start to wonder if there was any domestic violence present at 102 Laurel Drive?
With which parties? We're talking 3
All of
different
them?
females.
Any of them?
We never had any indication that there was domestic violence. At some point, Ms. Rivara, Cecilia Rivara, Jessica's mother, told us about an incident in November, probably 23, where she said that she believed Jessica had been the victim of domestic violence, but it had been a call that had been handled by the sheriff's office. So Pendleton Police Department, as I said, had never received a report of domestic violence.
Now, that's interesting. So I know that police did respond because of domestic violence at 102 Laurel. Is there a reason why Pendleton wasn't notified of it?
It would depend on the day that it would have been reported. Pendleton Police Department, after 2 a.m. Saturday morning until 8 a.m. Monday morning, Pendleton Police Department is off duty. So if it occurs Saturday, Sunday, into Monday morning, it's Anderson County Sheriff's Office's response.
Okay. But you said that you went to Ms. Barbara's residence and that you had to take Mrs. Barnes, Jessica, to a hospital?
We didn't take her. The ambulance took her to the hospital.
And that was July 31st?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you find out any information more about that during the course of your investigation? Because obviously she was in the hospital and then you assumed that the date of the murder was either the 1st or the 2nd?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how she got from the hospital to back to 102 Laurel?
From the statements we received, Jessica Barnes had her phone while she was being transported via ambulance to admin. She was in contact with Brandon Barnes via text message. Once she was brought into the emergency room for mental health evaluation at admin, she ultimately decided to check herself out, left the hospital, was apparently walking around Anderson, still in communication with Brandon via phone. And he ultimately, on the morning of the 1st, drove to Anderson to pick her up and brought her back to Laurel Drive.
Was anybody in the car with him when he did that?
I couldn't tell you, ma'am.
Okay. Would that have shown up on the ring camera?
I can't answer that.
Okay. What about, were you ever aware that Mr. Barnes would drive Ms. Mims' car
Yes, ma'am.
without her in it?
I couldn't tell you if she would have been in it or not.
Okay, but maybe that would also be something that's on the ring camera? At any point in time during this investigation, did you speak to Mrs. Mims, excuse me, Mrs. Mims' family members, from mom or dad?
No, ma'am.
So you're not aware
All right, I am back. I don't know what happened to the internet. I blame, I'm going to blame Brandon for this, Brandon Barnes, because he seems to be a douche of epic proportion. But let me get back. I was going for like several minutes and didn't realize I was gone, so daggone it. Let me get this back up. Sorry, you guys. I have no idea what's going on. And look, it's computer stuff. I have no idea. Oh, well, that's just what they called it. I think I'm going to call it the the douchicule. No, a polycule of madness. Dumpster human explosion. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I'm going to have to change it from what Court TV has and what everyone else seems to have. I will think of it. It will come to me at 3 a.m. tonight. It really will.
On vehicle so that that type of activity wouldn't happen again.
In fact,
So-
the family had to report it.
If you missed it, the police officer was just explaining why Mr. Heron, who is Victoria Tippett's grandfather, decided to put trackers on the car. So, according to this, and this is more shenanigans I'm going to have to look into, Kendra Mims was estranged from her family or something. Again, they don't have their ages out there, so they might be considered minors. That might be why they don't have any information out. But it seems that Kendra was reported missing and police were looking for her in North Carolina and Georgia. But Kendra and Brian Barnes took one of the cars to Georgia and didn't tell anyone, didn't maintain, contact with her family to try to let them know what was going on. She basically just kind of split and didn't tell anyone where she was going. So, as always, just an awesome human move. I mean, it's not even your car, but you're gonna take it and let everyone be worried and let your family be worried. Okay, sounds like just dumpster water behavior. But that is what we're here for. That is what these trials are. It's not like we ever get a trial where someone's convicted of being super awesome. I mean, that would be cool, but it never happens. I'm not going to blame Jeremy. That's just silly. It honestly surprises me that the Hale stuff has gotten so crazy. When it did kind of look, it just started as like a sideshow, weird kind of, this is a train wreck. Now it's become a monster Sharknado train wreck.
Car stolen so that they could find her, correct?
I couldn't tell you if the car was reported stolen.
Okay. So do you have any of those incident reports?
No, ma'am, not reported to Pendleton PD.
All right. So, you stated that there were several text messages that you saw on the phones, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And did Ms. Barbara make you aware that she suspected that Mr. Barnes had been texting her using Jessica's phone?
Are we talking about when she reported her as a missing person?
Yes.
Yes, so she said that the reason she was in to report her as a missing person was that she had not heard from Jessica on her birthday. And that, I don't remember the exact date, she had gotten a text message allegedly from Jessica's phone, but she did not believe that it was sent from Jessica. Reading the text message, it read very strange. It was a long run-on sentence, and she also said that one of her received a similar text message. Went to her residence, made contact with one of her minor sons, read the text message he had received, and it was very similar to the text message that Ms. Lavar had received, other than this the message he received had some punctuation in it. And the other indication from Ms. Guevara was that
balmy.
Jessica typically used a number of emojis. Hers was long run sentence, no emojis, and her son had some punctuation and emojis, but it read very similarly.
At any point in time, did you
Oh, Denise, I didn't know that. You will be shocked, but by the time I get done with everything and I'm trying to be better, working. I don't know what was going on. Uh, I can't keep up with everything that's going on, so I often feel lost at all the things that are going on. So if he is selling t-shirts that say blame Jeremy, well then wait to monetize shenanigans, and I approve. Bad duck, secret lover. That's what we are. So hard to try, or so hard to hide the way we feel. Enjoy all the day, quack. Thank you. I've already been working on my creative curses today, and this case is liable to get me swearing worse than Nicholas, which would be a feat. Although when he curses, he always sounds so jovial about it. It really is. He's like, he can even say the T word, and it's just like, bless you. Thank you so much. My flooring is down in my room, so that means when Mr. Moe finally sands all the drywall, which I didn't know you needed to do. I didn't know drywall was so fussy. Once he gets that done, I can move in. Yay! Oh, and Megan has a song called Blame Jeremy. That's amazing. That's hilarious. I will have to listen to the song. I don't remember it, but, I barely remember what I'm doing when I go into a... Okay, you guys. It looks like the internet is going to be a butthole. So what I'm going to do is end this, work on getting the murder drywall or dry erase board set up so that tomorrow I can make a murder board for you guys. But I think the internet is just going to be crud-tacular. And if it gets better, if I get notifications that, the internet is going to be back and better, but it is going in and out, and I don't want you guys to just see me, and I can't end the stream if I don't have internets. So, thank you all for joining. We will attempt this either later this evening, afternoon, or tomorrow. I will be working on a highlight reel of all the tangents from this week's episode of Legal Shenanigans Theater. So that should drop this evening, afternoon, and then I will try to have some news come up. But right now the internet is in and out and looks like it won't be fixed until later this evening, which is spectacular. So while I am still able to, I am going to end the stream just because I don't want you guys staring at a dead empty screen if I lose internet again, which you would be doing. I will blame Jeremy. It is all his fault. I'm going to go listen to Megan's song while I'm doing editing. So thank you all for joining me. Sorry for the abrupt shove off of the the Petty Express. Let me get you guys going to somewhere. Since my internet is being an absolute butt monkey. You know what? I am going to send you over to Sal. He is watching Judge Flesher, Daily Court Feed. always fun. His suits are so snappy. I will see you guys later. Thank you. I definitely will listen to the song. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat, Bad Duck. And I will see you guys later. Bye, you guys.